Breaking the fourth wall is a regular occurrence in movies and cartoons, but SpongeBob always comes up with a really unique way to do it. They never shy away from adding in some universe-breaking jokes every now and then to remind us that, yeah, this is a show taking place underwater, and us, the viewers, are watching from the other side of the screen. But since they've done it in so many clever ways, from simply talking while looking at the screen to deliberately questioning the logic of the show itself, it becomes really easy to overlook some of the sneaky ones. In fact, I bet you didn't notice some of these moments when you watched them the first time. Ever since the very first season of SpongeBob, they intentionally gave us this sort of understanding that the whole cartoon is a documentary about crazy nautical life being filmed by a group of humans. They put in a realistic hand every now and then, like in the Suds or Crabborg. It even has a name, Hans, according to some episodes. But one of the earliest and most mind-breaking jokes that they made came from the episode No Free Rides.
Boarding school!
As usual, SpongeBob got nervous in his driving test with Mrs. Puff, and in the middle of it, he hit a human in a diving suit, holding the camera, indicating that, yes, this is just a real community underwater, and the show's team is just recording whatever they're doing there, while giving some narrative, just kind of like National Geographic. But we can't talk about the humans in the show without bringing up what is arguably one of the weirdest and most memorable episodes of the show, I Had an Accident. In the episode, SpongeBob had an accident, just like the title says. So he refuses to go outside his house anymore, because that's his safe space. But Patrick and Sandy tell him that can't be healthy, so they're doing everything they can to lure SpongeBob outside again, including making Patrick dress up as a gorilla and attack Sandy with hopes that SpongeBob would come out to help her. And before you could say, that is a weird idea even for Patrick's standard, the writers had something even weirder in their minds. Now, I can't be the only one who thought, what the hell is going on here, the first time watching it? Like, how did a plot about SpongeBob shattering his bum in a skiing accident escalate into someone wearing a gorilla suit and attacking the three of them out of nowhere? Unfortunately, as weird as that sounds to you, the ending didn't help us understand anything at all. That is another time breaking the fourth wall on top of SpongeBob breaking the fourth wall by pointing out, why is there a gorilla here? But hey, they sure love to maintain the weirdness at an all-time high in Bikini Bottom. I guess that's one of the show's charms in the first place. I mean, everything about Bikini Bottom is weird already, so why don't they just go all out, right? In fact, they call out their own weird logic in several different episodes. For example, we see a piece of wood catch fire in episodes like right? While we all know it's impossible to have fire underwater, it's just funny to see all three of them running around with excitement for discovering the concept of cooking. Any weird details could be brushed off as a plot device. But then, they actually addressed this bit. Or actually, more like they made fun of it. I guess since they don't want to make a lot of kids believe that fire can be lit underwater, right? However, they're not doing it in the way that you would think.
Whoever sent this obviously has no idea about the physical limitations of life underwater.
They're basically saying whoever made this show didn't understand a single thing about physics. Nah, I'm just kidding. I mean, they are pointing out obvious things. Yeah, nothing makes any sense physically in this show, but calling out every single one of them is just ridiculous and takes away all the fun, right? However, lore-breaking details like the stuff I said before are actually kind of rare. They're not something you would see on most episodes because then we just wouldn't take anything seriously. More often than not, they're just breaking the fourth wall for a quick opening joke.
Hello, SpongeBob? He's supposed to be here somewhere. Aha!
I think one of the reasons they did this is because you tend to easily forget details like this when it's still early in the episode, right? It's similar to hitting the cameraman, too. It happened within the first minute of the episode. If you did something like that at the end or in the middle of the plot, it would disturb the whole narrative, right? People would just be focused on it rather than quickly brush it off, thus forgetting the plot. I don't know, I could be wrong there. One thing for sure, it adds to the illusion that this is a show recorded underwater in real time and narrated by some French sailor guy. And, just in case you forget, the Frenchies are basically the ones that narrate the story at the beginning of an episode and read every single timestamp card.
A few inches later.
And even he couldn't get away when the show decided to make fun of him too. Speaking of which, Patrick has played with the time card too, in Wet Painters.
3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
I think Frenchie is as close as it gets to an honorable main cast. We always tend to forget just how many brilliant jokes Frenchie has made since the beginning. This is also one of the funniest recurring fourth wall breaking bits that they put in the show, at least in my opinion. They brought it back from time to time, like in the episode Mimic Madness.
80,000 impressions later.
Would you please stop imitating me? It is starting to get very annoying.
It's even funnier when you realize Frenchie is voiced by Tom Kenny himself. He's basically just making fun of his own voices every now and then. Jokes aside, it's a serious talent for being able to imitate yourself in a believable way. As for the lore inside the show itself, I think it serves as some of the clearest proof that they've known each other in person for quite some time in order to joke around like that. Though it's never been confirmed that anyone in this city physically met and talked with the French narrator until later mid-seasons. Episodes like SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout make sure that, yes indeed, Mr. Frenchie is a friend of SpongeBob. Everyone, including Patrick, just knows this as if this was a normal fact. And maybe Sandy too. She makes a call to him in Feral Friends, right? Actually, I think Patrick has seen or at least communicated with Frenchie several times in the past.
And has asked SpongeBob and Patrick to do a little pet sitting for her.
Pet sitting? Won't that hurt them?
He just can't be bothered to know who it is. You know, I only realized after writing this video that they had a very specific idea or goal to utilize breaking the fourth wall as some kind of a world-building detail. That they're not just coming up with these randomly in the middle of writing an episode, but I mean, that's a no-brainer. I'm feeling stupid now. Still, you can't blame me for not realizing that sooner. Some of their break the fourth wall jokes are totally brain-dead and completely unrelated to the plot. Like, remember this one from Squilliam Returns?
You don't pay me. We don't even exist. We're just a clever visual metaphor used to personify the abstract concept of thought.
I mean, it just came up as a hyperbolic joke that ended as quickly as it was brought up. Like, how did they even come up with these in the first place? And yet, that was not even close to the one that caught me the most off guard. I mean, compared to that, this one from All That Glitters really is gold.
All that glitters is not gold.
That was one crazy way to insert some Shakespearean expression into your jokes. Then again, that was funny though. I was just awestruck trying to think where these writers get an idea for the jokes, especially in the early seasons. Because they still made this kind of bit in later seasons, but it was more of an act out rather than theatrical narration. Again, not bad, just different kinds of humor. With that being said, they're not doing all this fourth wall breaking for the sake of being funny. In fact, they're also using it to subtly communicate with the viewers at home. What I mean by this is that there are lots of moments where it looks like one of them has a loud inner thought, even though they're actually talking to us. Did you notice these details when you're watching Help Wanted? Most of us think it's just SpongeBob trying to encourage himself to apply for the fry cook job. But he's also looking us straight in the eye, clearly explaining what he's about to do, as if we're someone standing next to him watching him do all this stuff. This gives viewers, especially children, a better understanding about what's going to happen. Some of you might be surprised at how much SpongeBob does this. Like in Pranks-A-Lot, Mr. Krabs does a whole monologue about his arsenal to defend himself against the ghost.
So just try and get me, you ghost! Bring it on!
Because if you really think about it, he doesn't have to explain everything out loud to himself, right? I mean, there's a chance he's just reassuring himself out of fear, yeah, but really, he's just explaining it to us. With that being said, the one that does this the most is none other than Plankton, the evil mastermind. You know, it's one of those villain tropes kind of things, where he reveals or even explains his whole evil plan to us. To be fair, sometimes he was explaining it to Karen, but it's not rare for him to have a loud monologue by himself and to laugh maniacally afterwards. But then I guess it's more a part of his psychopathic side rather than breaking the fourth wall? Could be both. Then again, sometimes they don't even bother making it subtle. However, of all the things, what I loved the most was every time they made the 11-minute joke. You know, since a regular episode is gonna run about 11 minutes, so whatever they did will be over in the span of 11 minutes. Squidward is the one you'd expect to make most of these jokes. Like, he does it once in Nature Pants. After that, he makes a joke about how his life is miserable every 11 minutes in Club SpongeBob. There are a few instances when even secondary cast members make jokes about it too. The first that comes to mind is Betty, or the woman who uses the Betty name card from Missing Identity.
Well, you managed to kill 11 minutes.
Sometimes the 11-minute reference isn't as obvious as that. In Pat No Pay, there was this one scene where Patrick is suffering from Krabby Patty withdrawal. SpongeBob says he needs a patty immediately, or else he'll keep mumbling about it for the next 3.5 minutes.
He needs one, or he'll keep mumbling about it for the next 3.5 minutes.
This is referring to the approximate amount of time remaining in that episode, which is 3.5 minutes. You see, some of these break the fourth wall jokes aren't really that easy to catch on first watch, especially if you're a little kid. More often than not, you'll just be phased thinking about what they meant by these jokes and then quickly forget about it. That's why sometimes SpongeBob came up with another way to break the fourth wall, the one where he stops for a second and gives good advice to viewers at home. He did it once when Cousin Stanley broke his TV.
Uncle Sherm won't let me watch TV back at home.
Why not?
Don't lie, SpongeBob. You know there's some good stuff on late night TV. But you know what? Maybe you're right. It's not a good show for kids at home. You know what's also not good? Making a painful and awful episode. Even though Stuck in a Ringer is a notoriously mean episode, there is at least one good joke in there, which is the crying bit. So SpongeBob gets stuck in a ringer for almost the whole episode, like the title describes. And through it all, every time he brings it up to Patrick, Patrick would just gaslight him back and tell him to man up, saying that crying isn't gonna solve the problem at all. However, as the story progresses, they both would cry after making up with each other, which accidentally dissolves the glue in the ringer.
I guess crying does solve your problems after all.
Yeah, it's a good joke in itself, but don't take that advice, kids. Crying rarely solves the problem, especially if you live in Bikini Bottom. Where are we? Oh yeah, breaking the fourth wall, sorry. You know what? Since we're already talking about the worst side of SpongeBob, why don't we talk about my least favorite kind of breaking the fourth wall jokes? Singing their own theme song. I don't know if you pay attention to it, but SpongeBob actually made quite a few jokes about singing the opening song, especially in the mid-era seasons. He jokes about it when someone loses a memory about him, and then he replies with, "Do you remember this song?"
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
But for the most part, he only hums it when doing mundane chores, like when he's walking to Krabs' office, or even when Krabs is cleaning the table in SpongeBob The Last Stand. I guess it kinda makes sense, since he's the one performing it for the opening song itself, right down to the flute part. So maybe he just loves to sing it once in a while. I personally didn't really like the joke, but I didn't hate it either. I think I just kind of feel indifferent about it. Speaking of which, I do have mixed feelings when it comes to messing with the show's physics. Like, I don't love when they broke the fourth wall by interacting with their own knockout stars. They did it in Teacher's Pests, where Plankton and Krabs had to go to a boating school to receive some driving lessons from Mrs. Puff. But they got a little bit naughty in the middle of the lesson, and Mrs. Puff had to give them a warning. The only times I kinda like it is when Patrick is the one doing it, like when he does it in Survival of the Idiots. His head got smashed when he saw chicken wings, which he could see. I think I like it because it feels more in character. Maybe? I don't know. Sorry, now it just sounds like I'm nitpicking modern episodes again. On the contrary, I do love it when they're overriding someone else's thoughts. There's just something funny about two people sharing the same brain cell or sharing their own thoughts. One of the most memorable examples I can think of is from Truth or Square. There's this whole section of SpongeBob trying to imagine his journey with Mr. Krabs, about their process of handing over the secret recipe with Plankton standing right next to him as if he could watch everything and was able to take some notes. But of course, it doesn't end well. There's also one from The Sponge Who Could Fly, where Grandpa SquarePants told Patrick that he is not Patrick's grandpa. Oh, that was funny. Though now I'm thinking, by that standard, does it mean the whole concept of sleepy time is breaking the fourth wall? The whole episode is about SpongeBob infiltrating each one of their dreams mid-sleep. And, at the end of the episode, they all remember SpongeBob doing it and then come to his home to tell him to stay out of their dreams. Huh. You know, after realizing how long this video actually is, I'm kind of surprised how many breaking the fourth wall jokes SpongeBob has made. And, mind you, I'm not even covering half of it, I'm just talking about the good ones. I mean, the numbers are nowhere near something like Chowder, but still. At the end of the day, breaking the fourth wall has become one of the best recurring jokes in the show to date, and I'm glad they did it. It's really difficult to make bad breaking the fourth wall jokes even in the modern season, which sadly cannot be said for their plot narrative. It's just something that the modern season really struggles to achieve, resulting in some meh episodes, even though they had a brilliant premise. In fact, I already did a whole episode talking about what if a modern episode had the classic narrative style. Would it instantly turn into a great episode? Go watch that video next to get the full story. As always, I'll see you on the next dive.